Howdy, folks. This video is from a show I recently did on Cameron Bertuzzi's channel, Capturing Christianity. If you like it, do all the YouTube things to let YouTube know to show the video to others. Be sure to like, comment, and share the video. And I am trying to grow my channel, so be sure and subscribe and hit the bell notification. Don't forget to check out Capturing Christianity and support the work that Cameron is doing there. Hope you enjoy this.
All right, Truth Seeker says, why do you believe a God exists? What convinced you?
Well, okay. There are multiple arguments for the existence of God, and I could go into considerable depth on this, but I don't think Cam wants me to go into considerable depth at the moment because, it would get us away from our topic.
Just give a summary.
But the argument that I find most useful for the existence of God, or certainly one of the arguments I find most useful, is the contingency argument, which seeks to explain why is something the way it is. And we're not talking about its history. We're not talking about how it got the way it is over time. We're asking the question, why? Just pretend the past and the future don't exist. Why is this object the way it is right now? If I have a black iPhone, what makes it black right now? And you could say, well, because it could be, some other color. Apple has other colors of iPhones. So it could be red or it could be gold, but this one happens to be black. So what makes it black? Well, you can appeal to the pigmentation, which exists on the molecular level in the materials that it's made of. Okay, fine. That gives us an explanation for its blackness. But, and it's basically that, well, the molecules that its surface is made out of reflect or absorb certain frequencies of light. Okay, why do they do that? And here you might appeal to the laws of physics and say, well, the laws of physics are such that the molecules of a surface will either absorb or reflect certain frequencies depending on the molecules. Okay. Why is that the case, though? Why do we have this set of physical laws instead of another? The laws of physics could be different. And so everything that could be different than it is what philosophers call contingent. And it ultimately, and a lot of things we see in the world are contingent, including my iPhone. It could be a different color if I'd bought a different one. So in order to get an explanation for the contingent things we see in the world, it's unsuccessful to propose an infinite regress of causes. And so most philosophers who've looked into this question, or at least most theistic philosophers who've looked into it, have concluded that whatever chain of explanations we propose needs to terminate in something that's not contingent, something that is necessary. And that necessary entity that explains all the contingencies we see in the universe, that would be God. So that doesn't prove everything about God, but that would prove we need additional arguments to prove additional aspects of God. But it does prove something that can be meaningfully be called God. And then from there, we need to talk about, okay, so what else can we figure out about God?
Do you mind if I'm asking you if you mind if I do something on my show? I was maybe I'm asking the audience too. Yeah,
do what you want.
I'd like to share some of my thoughts on this question as well. So the question again is, why do you believe that God exists? So part of that question could be interpreted as like personal, like a psychological, autobiographical type of question. Like, why do you in particular believe? And so that's one way to interpret the question. And that answer is pretty easy. Like, I just grew up believing that, and I haven't really seen reason to reject it. But philosophically, why I'm convinced that God exists today could be explained through various arguments. And I think there's kind of like two ways to categorize what I would sort of appeal to. So on the one hand, we've got conceptual analysis, and on the other hand, I would point to different aspects of the world that would count as evidence for the existence of God. So in terms of conceptual analysis, I think everyone has to accept that there is some sort of foundational item that explains everything else. Atheists, I think, can even get on board, at least with that initial step. There's got to be something that is foundational or necessary, like Jimmy was just talking about, that explains everything else that is not foundational. And then the question would be, this is where the sort of conceptual analysis comes in. What is the best concept that can explain why something foundational exists? What is the best analysis of the foundation? And I think theism has a leg up over atheism in this respect. But then there's evidence of different phenomena in the universe that you could point to and be like, okay, well, that doesn't really make sense on atheism. Like the fact that the universe is life permitting. That's fine tuning is another way that's usually something that is called the fine tuning of the universe. Why there exists a life permitting universe at all. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense given atheism. There's not really much reason to expect a life permitting universe, but there's other aspects we could appeal to. The fact that the universe began to exist, or that there's a first cause. Jimmy, I know that you and I are kind of, we don't necessarily 100% agree on that, but there's other aspects we could appeal to beyond that, like moral knowledge. But overall, the summary would be conceptual analysis of what a foundation would have to look like, and then that there's various pieces of evidence that basically point to the existence of God. And then I guess on top of that, I'd also add that the alleged counter evidence that's often brought against the existence of God, like evil, I think that can actually be accounted for in a theistic hypothesis. And actually, I think I'm convinced at this point that evil and suffering is actually more expected on theism than it is on atheism, because atheism doesn't predict conscious creatures that can suffer and go through any of those negative, bad experiences. So I think that actually theism is a better explanation of suffering and evil. So that would be my response to that, which is basically just comes down to the evidence. So I think the evidence points toward the direction of theism. So I think we're pretty much in agreement on that. And you just talked about contingency, right? And so that was just one aspect.
I could have said all the stuff you said, only it would have taken more time. And before we go, just a reminder to do all those great YouTube things. You can help my channel grow by liking, commenting, and sharing the video. And be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you always get notified when I have a new video. These days, I have multiple videos coming out every week. Thanks so much, and God bless you.